You're standing in the cereal aisle doing math you didn't think you'd still be doing at your age. Not which one tastes better, math. The $3.49 box against the $4.79 box, working out which one gets you more days before you're back here again. Nobody in this aisle knows you're doing it. That's the whole point of this video. There are 6 levels to being poor that almost nobody says out loud, because most of them have nothing to do with money itself. They're about what money quietly takes from everything around it. Stick with this one, because level 5 is the one doctors are only now starting to actually measure. One quick thing before we go further. If you've ever done math in a cereal aisle, hit subscribe, because this channel exists for exactly that moment. Level 1. The invisible tax. The first level nobody talks about is that being poor is expensive. Not metaphorically. Literally, mathematically more expensive, in almost every direction. You can't afford the $80 boots that last 5 years, so you buy the $25 boots that fall apart in 5 months, and you buy them again, and again, until you've spent more than the $80 boots would have cost in the first place. You can't afford to keep $1,500 in a checking account to waive the monthly fee, so you pay the fee, every month, for having too little. Economists have an actual name for this, the poverty tax. It's the extra cost paid specifically for not having enough money up front to buy in bulk, buy in quality, or qualify for the discount. Being broke doesn't just mean having less. It means paying more for the same things everyone else gets cheaper. And it compounds quietly, month after month, until the gap between barely making it and actually getting ahead isn't really about effort at all. It's arithmetic working against you from the very first purchase. Level 2. The silence. The second level is the one you built yourself, without meaning to, the silence. You get good at answering, "How are things?" with, "Good, can't complain," because the real answer takes too long and invites questions you don't want to answer. You stop mentioning money around people who have it, not out of pride exactly, more out of a kind of self-protection you never consciously decided on. This silence has a cost, too. Researchers who study financial stress consistently find that concealment itself, not just the lack of money, is linked to higher anxiety because you're now managing 2 things at once, the actual shortfall and the performance of not having one. You get so good at the performance that sometimes you almost believe it yourself, right up until a bill reminds you otherwise. Level 3. The constant math. The third level is the one from the cereal aisle, the math that never actually stops. It's not just at the grocery store. It's gas versus groceries this week. It's whether the check engine light can wait one more paycheck. It's counting the days between now and payday every single morning before you've even gotten out of bed. Researchers Sendhil Mullainathan and Eldar Shafir studied exactly this and gave it a name, the scarcity mindset. Their research found that financial scarcity doesn't just stress you, it actually consumes mental bandwidth, the same limited cognitive resource you'd use for planning, focus, and decision-making. In their studies, people under serious financial strain performed on cognitive tests the way you'd expect someone functioning on significantly less sleep to perform, not because they were less capable, but because so much mental processing power was already being spent on the math. Which means the very thing poverty demands most, careful long-term decision-making, is the exact thing it makes hardest to do well. It's not a character flaw, it's bandwidth, spent before the day even starts. Level 4. The shrinking world. The fourth level creeps up slowly enough that you don't notice it happening until your world is already smaller than it used to be. You stop getting invited to things, not because people stopped liking you, but because you stopped saying yes enough times that people quietly stopped asking. The birthday dinner, the weekend trip, the wedding with the destination and the dress code. Each one is a small, reasonable decline in the moment. Stacked over a few years, they add up to a life with fewer people in it. This is sometimes called social withdrawal, and it's one of the least talked about costs of financial strain because it doesn't show up on a bank statement. It shows up in your contacts list, in group chats you're in but don't respond to anymore, in friendships that faded not from any single fight, just from absence. Money doesn't just buy things, it buys access to shared moments. When it runs short, the moments quietly go first. Level 5, the health cost. The fifth level is the one doctors are only now starting to properly measure, and it's the most serious one on this list. You put off the dentist appointment because it's not an emergency yet. You wait on the weird chest pain because the copay is real money and the pain might just be stress. You tell yourself you'll deal with it once things settle down, and things never quite settle down enough. But it's not just delayed care, it's the toll of chronic financial stress on the body itself. Researchers call this allostatic load, the cumulative physical wear from prolonged stress hormones like cortisol staying elevated far longer than they're supposed to. Long-term studies have linked sustained financial strain to measurably higher rates of hypertension, heart disease, and weakened immune function, independent of diet or exercise habits. In other words, poverty doesn't just strain your finances. Over enough years, it can measurably strain your actual heart. Level 6, the inheritance. The sixth level is the one almost nobody wants to say out loud, because it's the hardest to face. Being poor doesn't always stay contained to one lifetime. Kids absorb the scarcity mindset before they can even name it. They watch a parent flinch at a price tag and learn, without a single word being spoken, what money is supposed to feel like. Tight, dangerous, something to be quietly afraid of. Some carry that fear into adulthood even after their own finances improve, over-saving out of anxiety, or swinging the opposite way entirely, spending recklessly the moment they finally have room to breathe, because scarcity was the only relationship with money they ever learned. Researchers who study intergenerational poverty find that the absence of a financial safety net is one of the strongest predictors of whether the next generation ends up needing one too, not because of a lack of effort, but because there was no cushion for a single bad year, a single medical bill, a single layoff, and no cushion means the smallest shock echoes for a full generation. This is the level nobody talks about at dinner tables, because it's not really about money at all anymore. It's about what money, or its absence, quietly teaches the people who watch you carry it. 6 levels. An invisible tax that makes less turn into paying more. A silence that costs as much as the shortfall itself. A constant math that eats the mental bandwidth needed to escape it. A shrinking world that empties out one polite decline at a time. A body that keeps score even when the bank account doesn't. And an inheritance that reaches further than a single lifetime. None of this is about laziness, and none of it is a life sentence. It's just what actually happens, quietly, underneath the number on a bank statement, the part nobody puts in the headline. If you've lived even one of these 6 levels, you already knew most of this before I said it. That's exactly why it needed saying. Subscribe for the next one. Same honesty, a different truth nobody talks about.